In my sketchbook I wanted to explore some abstract landscape painting. So here I am creating some landscapes. All you need for a landscape is the land and the sky. So just horizontal bands really, and this is what I'm starting to build here. So I've just sort of created a grid of horizontal lines, and now I'm going to add in differences, some lines, mark making, just things to suggest just different things that are happening on the land. A bit more saturated colour here with the yellow coming in, and I want it to be I don't want it to be wildly colourful, so I'm going to keep the colour palette fairly limited, but I'm just building layers of texture and marks. So coming in with a red pencil and just bringing some marks through. I'm just really going to see how this develops with an eye to just sort of creating bands of land and sky. So this is some sort of grey sky coming in. Now the land has things on it, so we need a few verticals as well to suggest whatever, trees, posts, whatever might be there. But I want to just put those in and just see how I can sort of make them present but also different in the composition. So just digging into the paint, just seeing what I can create with my colour shaper. So adding in some more dark paint here, some dark values, and putting the paint on differently this time with a brush, so I get some sort of brush stroke marks happening. And then having put a dark colour on, I'm going to put a light one on to create some quite strong contrasts. I'm just really seeing what sort of paint effects accidentally happen when I'm adding paint with a variety of tools, and also different consistencies of paint, using thick and thin paint, watery paint as well, just seeing what effects I can get. Creating sort of sharp edges with the edge of the shaper, veiling, watery sort of thin paint, having an area that has more colour and a more desaturated area. And here's a line, so just letting the paintbrush make that mark. I'm just sort of suggesting things. I don't want to be too descriptive. I just want to create some suggestions of maybe what might be on the land. And I'm letting the marks make those suggestions really. I've got no idea. I'm not being prescriptive at all. So smudgy marks, and then more defined shapes, thick and thin paint. And also thinking about proportions, so having large shapes, small shapes, wide bands, thin bands. You can see here in this detail, you can see the different effects that I've managed to get just by putting the paint on with a variety of tools and thicknesses of paint. Now this is where we're going. I want to add in a bit of collage, just for a surprise element. So I'm going to create some paper that will have some different effects on it. I'm going to use plants from the garden, which I've painted, and then I'm kind of printing them onto the paper, so I get this sort of leaf print. I'm just exploring this idea at this stage with this paper, and just trying out different types of leaf and seeing what I get. It's quite fun. I like these sort of prints, and these are creating sort of different marks that I can use in this for the collage element of this little painting. Now I've put on a bit of ink, and I'm dipping a leaf into the ink and then seeing what marks I can create with the leaf, which is different from using paint. now I've painted that leaf. It's already got some ink on it, so I'm printing that painted leaf over the top of the ink. So you can see the different sort of effects that I've managed to get here. Some of them are really delicate, and some of them are a nice clear print that I might be able to use. So this is what I did. I got bits of just scrap paper and created a page to go with the landscape, kind of like a diptych, so that it has elements that are similar to the landscape and also ones that are very different to the painted landscape. So you can see on the left I've got quite thick paint and lots of colour, and on the right it's quite minimalist. I've got suggestions of parts of the landscape. I've used the same sorts of colours, but I've got a lot of white, which is, I still have white on the left, but it's a very different view of the land on the right hand side. There's a suggestion of sky at the top, land at the bottom, and some of the plants and things in the middle. So that's an interesting way of creating an abstract landscape using paint first of all and then collage, and making the second half of the diptych have elements that are relevant to the landscape but are seen in a very different way.